Hello, I'm Keisha Croxton, and this is Accessible by Design.
Online learning experiences. Human-centered design. In this lesson, we'll define what human-centered design is and its key principles. We'll then describe the human-centered design process and how it applies to online learning. We'll move on to identify strategies to align course goals with learner needs and recognize the value of learner input and iteration in the design process. We'll take a look at a case study that shows some of these principles in motion, and then we'll wrap up with a reflective question and prepare for the next lesson. So let's get started with human-centered design. Definition. Human-centered design is a creative approach to problem solving that starts with the people you're designing for and ends with new solutions that are tailor-made to suit their needs. So overall, the principle of human-centered design is a focus on empathy. That's the true starting point. Empathy is there to help you get a deep understanding of who your learners are, their experiences, their emotions, and their goals. Then we move on to co-design, involving the learners themselves and other individuals in creating ideas and validating solutions. We move on to context, which helps us understand the environment and the lived experiences of our learner, which will ultimately have an impact on how we design our course. And of course, we have to consider accessibility. It's a foundation of any product, service, or environment that you're building because we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to succeed. Then, of course, it's all about iteration. This process is a workflow. It's not a linear beginning and middle and end. It is meant to help you refine the design based on feedback and just continue the cycle of improving your overall course design. Process. As I just mentioned, the human-centered design experience is a process. It is meant to be repeated multiple times in order for you to get to a good solution for your learner. The phases are broken down into discover, where you will engage with learners to uncover insights and needs. And then define, so you'll identify your learner pain points and reframe the challenges. We'll move on to ideate, which is coming up with ideas or brainstorming a wide range of ideas with the learner in mind. Then you'll prototype and build rough versions of your solutions pretty quickly and pretty cheaply. And with these initial ideas in mind, you'll go on to test them and gather feedback from your learners and revise. So anytime you're creating something through this human-centered design process, the goal is to create a product, get it in front of people, and get their feedback so you can keep improving it. It's important to have this learner in mind and start from a place of empathy with the understanding that any feedback that they give you is going to only help further improve their learning experience. Implementation. When it comes to applying the human-centered design process to instructional design, we're going to start with our learner persona to understand our learners' needs and goals. We'll use that persona to guide the content format and the course pacing. We'll also use language and tone that resonates with our learner. And then we'll build feedback loops throughout the course to check in with our learner. With all that information, we're going to continue to iterate the course based on their behavior and their feedback. The overall impact for learners of using the human-centered design process in tandem with instructional design increases relevance and engagement for the learner. It reduces frustration and confusion, and it builds trust and confidence in the learning environment. And with all those things happening at once, it creates a great business case for using human-centered design processes in your instructional design framework. It reduces the number of revisions and support tickets. It also improves retention and satisfaction in your courses. And it strengthens the alignment with accessibility and inclusivity goals. Every single learner in your environment has the opportunity to succeed with a foundation of human-centered design. Case study. We'll take a look at this process and how focusing on connecting with your learner will make for a better experience overall. I got the opportunity to practice this human-centered design process as I was teaching a motion graphics course as an adjunct instructor at CT State Tungus, formerly known as Tungus Community College. All these community colleges in Connecticut unified into one system, as well as the public universities too. And so it was a new beginning, and we're looking at the curriculum and figuring out how we can make this a more unified experience, and how we can leverage online learning and online spaces despite this class being technically in person on campus. Throughout this process, I asked students for their feedback during classes. I adjusted the pacing and the tools based on their feedback in real time. I also gave them flexible assignment formats, video presentations, written documents, and also collaborative environments like Mural. I reorganized lessons after I noticed some type of confusion with items, and then the school system collected the end of semester feedback. Next steps. So we've just explored the overarching idea or the concept of human-centered design, which is all about focusing on the people or the person specifically that you are designing this course for. It's about empathizing with them and understanding what their needs, their goals, and making sure that every single design decision has them in mind. We understand that it's an iterative process that is meant to continuously gather feedback from our learner to improve the course. Let's explore this idea a bit more. What does it mean to design a course with the learner at the center? Either take some time to write this down and reflect on your own, or write it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the next lesson, we'll look at universal design for learning and how it builds on these ideas to support learner variability through flexible and inclusive course design. I'm Keisha, and I'll see you in the next lesson.